Hi, and welcome to AXSChat. We're delighted that today we've got Steven Tingus with us. Steven is a disability policy expert and has been in the political domain for a long time, which is particularly pertinent at this time with the US elections coming up. But he's also very much involved in the entertainment industry and has been working with people as a consultant to help people understand and increase the involvement of people with disabilities in entertainment. So delighted to have you with us today, Steven. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your journey into the world of consultancy and how you first got started.
Okay, well, in 2010, I moved back to California from Washington, D.C. after I served 8 years with President Bush in charge of disability policy. And right now, because of the big diversity and inclusion push in Hollywood, I decided why not enjoy the process of infusing policy into one of the biggest mediums in the country, and that's entertainment. So I've been working across the board here in Hollywood, for a better term, to make sure that talent with disabilities have the best opportunities to work in the industry behind and in front of the camera. And it's a really fascinating, energizing, and creative move on my part to really initiate change.
It sounds fantastic. I've been out and love California, love LA. I've been and visited Hollywood, and I know that from our previous discussions with people like Kurt Yeager and Angel Giuffria that there are roles, but there aren't enough, both
Right.
in front and behind the camera. I know that also that certain organizations are doing more than others. So yeah, and of course we had Kiran Shah on as well. But I know that organizations, for instance, Channel 4 were a good example when they did the work around the Paralympics. They had a team of
Right.
I think 35 people, of which 15 of those people that were delivering the broadcast from the Paralympics were people with disabilities, but that's unusual. That's not the norm. So plaudits to you for working to change that. How's it going?
It's going actually very well. Still giving my expertise for free, but like politics, you have to pay your dues and earn your respect. And I'm on a very good path right now, working with some of the most influential people as far as academies, producers, and studio heads right now. So I'm earning my respect, and it's been a little difficult, to be honest, with my peers that are already in the business as actors. But I always tell them, there's enough room in the sandbox for us to play together and do some good things. And if they don't like the approach that I'm doing, then that's upon them. I'm just bringing what I do best and making the business sense. And that's it.
Okay.
I'm just keeping it real, making good collaborations, and see what comes of it.
Okay, and we love to talk about the business sense here on AXSChat. We believe that business is a very powerful vehicle for change and can be a very powerful positive vehicle. Deborah, I know you've got a question.
Yes, and I'm really honored to have Dr. Steven Tingus on our program today. Steven and I have been friends for many years. I met him when he was running, as he mentioned, he was a presidential appointee under President Bush, and he was running NIDER, which is a very important segment at the Department of Education. So I was always very impressed with Steven. He went all over the world talking about disability policy, employment, and inclusion, and just really empowering individuals with disabilities. And he was always bipartisan, which I appreciated, because sometimes Steven and I vote different ways. And so I just have always really been impressed with his knowledge. And I wanted to just comment on something that Steven had said earlier in the program about, I find often some of the leaders with disabilities don't play nice in the sandbox, and it's almost like they have a lack or a fear sensitivity. It's like, well, if Steven's successful, then somehow that's taken away from me, which I think is ridiculous. We want Steven to be wildly successful and filthy rich and just have such success in his career, because I would rather have someone like Steven that really understands all the nuances of true disability inclusion, rich and, influential in the space. So it always troubles me. And that's what I like about AXSChat, because we believe in giving everybody a voice in all the different things. And I think that's why we've had the successes we've had. But Steven, I know that not only have you had an illustrious political career, but you have, as you're doing this stuff with Hollywood, you've actually acted yourself. You've been invited to the Emmys, and you also just participated in a roundtable for Variety. And I might be using the wrong terminology, but that was pretty powerful. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
It was such a great experience. And, this morning I was talking to Craig Robinson, in charge of diversity for NBC Universal. Amazing. I got to meet Gabrielle Carteris, the president of SAG. Made a great connect there. I met my friend Kagan Barris, who is the creator of Blackish, talking about possibly doing some disability specific episodes, and and I'm very close to Lee Daniels, and especially his sister Leah Daniels Butler with Empire, who's very committed to disability storylines. I haven't met Jonathan Murray yet, or the creator of Speechless, but I do support them, because across the board, I just love collaborating with people. As far as the money that you said, yeah, we all wish we were filthy rich, but for me, I get richness in earning respect with leaders across the board. And to be honest with you, Deborah, as you mentioned, people don't play, especially people in the disability community, not all, but those currently in leadership positions, they don't play fairly. They're very
territorial.
They're very territorial. And one thing that I believe I come away with is that I just want to do my part,
right,
and not impinge on other people's past. And I don't think that the disability community in DC has played fair in the past.
Right. And I will also, right. Well, and I will say that I think that there's a danger of only having a few leaders talking about this. We need as many leaders as possible talking about this. Once again, that's why we created AXSChat. And we feel that AXSChat is it's something that we're talking about it from a global perspective. We're talking about all the different parts and pieces. And we think that the more people that have a voice and different perspectives, that there's a lot more value to real true inclusion. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Antonio, because I know he has a question for you.
Okay.
No, thank you, David. That's a very good point, because what we found is it's important to talk with everybody and outside the different silos and communities, because what we found sometimes is, in Europe, I can say, in my country where I'm native, in Portugal, people with disabilities talk with people with disabilities. They write in website. They have their own channels, and they rarely move that conversation to the other channels, whereas everybody. So if you want to learn about that, you need to go to them. It's very difficult for you who could become a valid ally in their efforts to listen their conversations outside their own small meetings and places. So that's why what they were saying is so important. One of the reasons why we end up building AXSChat is to be able to allow everybody to be able to answer, to reply, to be part of this broader conversation, because we found that help us to spread the message and to create awareness in a more wider way.
Right.
And Stephen, before you comment, I know that Antonio, Neil wanted to make a comment too.
Yeah, that's true. I think that it's not just in the US. The whole factionalism is endemic throughout the industry, and I wonder if some of that is because people have a fear. Well, I've had to fight so hard to get here that I'm damned if I'm going to let go. But I like Deborah, like Antonio, like yourself. I believe there is room in the sandpit for us to all play, and that we're better when we do work collectively towards mainstreaming our needs and our cause, because actually, as Antonio says, what we need is to be having the discussions in the mainstream, not in the silos, not in the little cliques.
Right. And that is one of the problems that I faced in Washington, D.C., as Deborah has witnessed, is that as a community, we play in silos. But I was never brought up by my late parents to play in one sandbox, because I come from a business family, and a majority of those disabled peers in leadership positions have never been brought up or learned about business. And so when you're attacking companies and groups, they have no understanding of how to approach an issue in a very positive manner. It's always combative. And to be honest with you, in my experience now, being involved in the corporate aspect as an advisor, corporate heads don't want to hear that. And to be honest, and excuse my French, it pisses them off. And so people like me and other people that are well educated, well experienced, they push us back because they're afraid of a negative outcome in associating with people with disabilities. And I'm trying to break down that misperception. And people in DC, like you had said, are very comfortable in the little utopia they have built for themselves, and they can't see outside the Beltway. Okay.
Right, which is why, once again, we started AXSChat, because we felt that the conversation had to be broader than just a US conversation, just a DC versus whatever conversation. We really wanted to have a real multi-dimensional conversation, which is why I think that we've had the success that we've had, because we're taking it from a lot of different perspectives, and we all believe. I mean, Antonio and Neil work for Atos, which is one of the largest corporations in the world, and they have employees in the United States as well. So it's very important that all of us participate and have a voice. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Antonio.
I think we lost Steven's camera.
Here I am.
Okay, good.
Sorry about that.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
So what I would like to ask is, where do you spend your time these days? Where do you think you're putting your effort? Is talking with producers, with unions, to people who have responsibility for the castings? Where do you see that there's the block for not allowing people to be with disabilities to have a more active role and be more present in entertainment?
To be honest, I'm actually finding it positive to interact with people across the board. I can't say that a studio executive is any different with regard to a casting director or a producer. For instance, I don't know if I told Deborah this, but in, let's see, when was it? Last year, the creator of Twin Peaks, David Lynch, actually handpicked me to be in Twin Peaks, which is a miniseries, 25th anniversary miniseries. It starts this January on Showtime, and I'm in one very important episode with the lead, Kyle MacLachlan, and it was amazing. And David Lynch, the producer, director, creator, is very into this theory of disruption. And disruption basically is about, let's push the envelope with regard to societal issues. Let's push the envelope on issues that are uncomfortable for people. Because by pushing uncomfortable issues, we as a society are sort of like energized to engage and to give our honest thoughts. It was probably one of my most exceptional learning experiences so far in Hollywood. But I have a great rapport with the Empire team, Fox's Empire. It's just like, I can't really pinpoint which is better. I just love it all.
So, just to continue with that, do you think, with the people that you met on a daily basis, and actors and all the people in entertainment, do you see that some of them are still hiding themselves in relation to some disability that they might have, that they don't want people to know, because they are afraid that will not make it into roles? Is there anything that you can tell us in relation to that?
Let me just tell you, everybody in America and in the world has a disability, whether they know it or they don't. Okay, so let's start off with that. Second, in Hollywood, I could say something, but I better not. But let's just say that there are people with disabilities on and off the screen. Okay, so I think, and yeah, there's a stigma that still exists in Hollywood because Hollywood is considered the city of glam, style, and this, beauty, all that. But you know, when you really get to the meat of it, that is only 10%. 90% is about what are you going to get on your return on investment. They don't care about, I mean, we have all the awards here. They don't care about a damn award. They care about what the bottom line is for their studio, their company to make money. And if they can market to a community effectively and make money and yet raise their profile as doing something that is socially conscious, the better. So I think
Win-win.
people have a real misconception about what true Hollywood is all about.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that the whole sort of notion of beauty and all of that, that's the veneer, you know, and the business is the plank of wood underneath. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm going to address the elephant in the room because it's one day before election day in the United States. I can't vote. If I would, I know where my vote would go. However, I believe that the implications of this vote go far wider than the US. But looking into the US, and you're a Republican, what do you think the repercussions of the various different outcomes could be for people with disabilities? Because I think it is quite a stark contrast. Neither candidate are popular, but I think that, you know, there's a worrying trend amongst the statements that one of the candidates has made.
Yeah, well, let me just say, I'm a very moderate Republican that has worked and been on campaigns since President Reagan, but I have a intellectual and socially conscious based approach to electing people that are qualified to be a part in leading our country. And I am going to vote for the most qualified person that exists. This presidential cycle is ridiculous. And I'll say that publicly. People that can talk negative on both candidates are valid. So it's up to the person to elect the person that they believe will do the best for the country. And it was a hard decision this year. And I think with that in mind, I pray that whoever becomes our next president can address our issues, the disability issues, in a far more effective approach. And I don't, to be honest, as a policy expert, I don't foresee any positive change, at least for the next 4 years.
And I would love to address that as well. Sometimes Stephen and I have been friends for many years, and sometimes I vote. I always vote, and I think Stephen's the same way. I vote on the candidate, and I've been very open. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton tomorrow, and so is most of my family. I know my daughter Sarah has made a decision to vote for Hillary Clinton, but I am really worried about multiple things. And I turned off the news feed on my phone and my computer, and I stopped watching some of the hilarious comedy shows because it was actually making me afraid. I was getting a really bad stomach feeling, and And I'm just really worried about, in the first place, it feels to me like the Republican Party is the candidate that was selected by the Republican Party is not what I traditionally think of as Republican values. And I don't want to badmouth anybody, so I'm not going to. But I agree with what you said, Stephen. I'm voting openly, and I've said this on Twitter. I don't usually do this, but this campaign, I felt that when I saw a candidate making fun of, a journalist that, Stephen, you have some qualities with
Like
it,
this?
right? And yeah. So I, when I think of you, Stephen, I think of you're a doctor. You have a doctorate degree. I don't have a doctorate degree. You're brilliant. You've served under presidents. You have this amazing, amazing career. So I never think of you with pity or anything else. I just think of you as, a good friend that's very educated and adding a lot to society. I also am very quick to harass you and tease you, and that, we're friends. We're friends.
Right.
But I don't vote for people that make fun of other people in society and bully people and say what they say about women and blah, blah, blah. This is such a weird one. And I think the ramifications are not just to the United States. I think there is danger in putting somebody in our presidential position that is a bully and that reacts with emotion. And, we are all in this world together, and we've got some really, really big problems to solve, and we're not going to solve it being siloed. And so I tell myself that if the American public decides that we're going to have a President Trump, then I will stand by my president, as I always do, and I will continue to do the work I do. I just hope nobody gets hurt on election day. I hope that we can vote with our humanity and our conscience, and that we all make good decisions. But I see other countries. I mean, Antonio and Neil, you are both, in the UK, and y'all voted. I mean, your countries voted for Brexit, and that's very troubling. And so we are actually trying, I'm sorry, Ireland, Antonio. I know you're from Portugal and Ireland, but sorry. But this, you can tell that I'm so nervous about the election that I'm forgetting where Antonio's from. But we've never seen that. In my lifetime, I've never seen anything like this. And it's, and I have actually voted for Republicans before because I thought they were the best qualified candidates, and they aligned with the issues in the same way I aligned with them. But I'm very worried because I don't feel comfortable predicting the outcome of the election. So I just hope we're all going to be okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
there's a sense of depression in the United States right now. So. But I would be curious. I know we're interviewing you, Stephen, but I would be curious, Antonio and Neil. I mean, I know you're outside the US looking in, but what do y'all think the impact could be, on people with disabilities around the world? And I know that we have a global expert here with Dr. Tingus. So, I'm going to pass it over to Neil. I don't know if you want to.
So my take is that I think that Trump has no plan. He's a showman, and that his attitude towards people with disabilities worries me, and that because America has traditionally led on disability issues in terms of policy and in terms of consumer products, because effectively America is the leader in consumer products and IT and entertainment and all of these areas, that there is a dire risk of things going significantly awry should he lead. That said, presidents can be constrained, but he's not a man that likes to be constrained, and he's a maverick, and he will do things in a very different way. So I think that there is a danger there. I think that despite Hillary Clinton not being a perfect candidate, she has outlined a clear plan for what she intends to do for including people. So from that point of view, I think it's a clear blue water between the two candidates.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said.
Antonio, I don't know if you don't have to, I know it's a controversial topic, but tomorrow during AXSChat, the United States is voting.
No, what I see is, if you go back, is I don't see him revealing any sign of humanism in relation to other fellow human being, and that's I will resume that to that my opinion and my view of things, and that's a concern.
Yes, yes. So anyway, so we will all do our best here in the U.S. tomorrow, and but Stephen, I would be curious, what as a Republican leader for many, many years, you're a well-known Republican in our space, a well-thought-of Republican in our space. What happened? Why? I know you can't answer why the Republican Party
I
nominated. Sorry,
I could be honest with you, and you've heard it on many networks, is that basically the compassionate conservatism was thrown out because of 9/11.
Right. Fear.
When I was vetted by Governor Bush, our platform was to make sure that the Conservative Party was compassionate towards all people, and especially Bush had a very big compassion, although the media really didn't give him justice, towards the Hispanic, Latino, and the disability community. And now with he and former First Lady Laura Bush doing a tremendous amount of work in underdeveloped countries in Africa, the public seems to not be aware of the man's true intentions. Was the administration perfect? Hell no. We had some very bad advisors to Bush, but President Bush, Governor Bush, who I do, was deeply committed to disability. And look at his father, for good or bad. And I have some serious concerns about the ADA terminology and the anti-business aspect of the ADA, which is a whole separate AXSChat discussion, is that, as we discussed earlier, the people that like to play in the box were self-serving. I believe the ADA was developed to promote dependence on the government rather than fostering a tax incentive, pro-business approach. And whoever can disagree with me, go ahead. But the employment rates have not changed in 26 years.
Right.
So with that said, and I'm stepping on a limb, I would say whoever becomes president should seriously think about redoing the ADA. I don't know about repealing it, but I definitely know the terminology and the anti-business aspects of the law need to be dramatically changed. Because
plus ratifying the CRPD too.
Yes, if somebody doesn't have, excuse me, but I'm talking like my dad, if somebody doesn't have the balls to make major change, we're going to be having the same discussions in 2030.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's such a valid point. We often see politicians elected and there's a lot of promise, and we're always disappointed because it's as soon as you go from one electoral cycle, you're into the next one, and therefore the window of opportunity to do stuff that's really significantly going to change society is very short. You know, we're talking, you know, sometimes we talk about the first 100 days of a presidency. It really is a small window of opportunity, the very short-term cycles that we go through in politics that mean that people are always looking to the next thing, the next election, the next set of votes. And therefore, I think it's something that leads us to be disappointed, that acts as a brake on progress, and it does take a brave person to, in that first flush of the new presidency or new prime ministership, make those tough decisions and make them stick. We're at the end of our half hour now, Stephen, but it's been fascinating chatting to you, and I'm really looking forward to AXSChat tomorrow night with you on Twitter. It's been great meeting you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Bye-bye.